Alright, so it is Christmas Eve and your guy is broke, college broke specifically, so that means I'm like real broke. And until I am, blessed with my career as a physician and able to get them of something of more monetary value, I'm probably going to just do Walmart. This is my backpack that I got for Christmas. It's gonna be my backpack for med school, so you'll be seeing this for the next 4 years. I'm gonna put this one through the works next semester one more time. It's tearing apart. It's about to fall off my back like anytime soon, but this is gonna be the replacement. Hey. You can go. Come on. Ma'am, can you get on my car? Thank you. So I am leaving now to go attempt to find some worthwhile gifts, and after that I will be spending time with family, probably looking at anatomy a little bit, so I'll show you guys some of that if that's what I decide to do. I might decide to rest all day because it's Christmas Eve, so it might be warranted this time. If you can avoid coming out on any other Christmas Eve, do not, especially if you live in Houston, because these people out here playing all types of games, trying to kill me. Like, I couldn't even get into the lot. Like, that didn't look that bad. Hold on. I'll show you what it looks like whenever I was trying to pull in. Driving on Christmas Eve is not good for the Christmas spirit at all. Like, if you're trying to keep your Christmas spirit up and your holiday spirit, do not drive on Christmas Eve because it will mess you up. Wow. Literally all I want to do is just leave this lot. That's all I want to do is leave this lot, but I can't. I literally can't. Thank God I am finally home and I can stop dealing with the heathens of Houston because they playing, and I am not in a real playful spirit today. So we gonna go inside and not play. So I decided to actually work on some anatomy. The method I'm using is pretty much just Anki for right now. I actually didn't use for Anki until now. I didn't want to change up my study methods or something I never used before. So I'm trying to use it in undergrad so I can use it for medical school by the time I get there. Hopefully I will be used to it. I'm doing cranial nerves. What I've been doing for right now is just the basics. I'll be expected to know a lot more by the time the class gets here. But what I've been doing right now is just the Roman numeral, the name of the nerve, what it travels through, so the foramen, the fissure, the canal, anything it travels through the skull to get where it's going, and what it innervates and what it does. So right now I'm on cranial nerve 8 because I started doing this a little bit earlier, but cranial nerve 8 is called the vestibular or vestibulo Cochlear. I cannot spell to save the life of me. Cochlear nerve, and it travels through the internal acoustic meatus. I don't know exactly. Let me see if I can show you guys where I'm getting references from. So, can I find it? I don't know if I can find it. Okay, so this is the external acoustic meatus. If you flip it over, you'll see the internal acoustic meatus. So this is where the nerve travels out and it, do I have where it innervates? I don't have where it really innervates, but we can look it up real fast. The vestibular cochlear nerve innervates the vestibular system of the inner ear and the cochlea of the inner ear. So this is where it gets its meaning, I guess you could say, or its name from, and it travels through internal acoustic meatus to those spots. So I'm just saying to the inner ear to transmit sound and balance information from the inner ear to the brain. So as far as like pre-med questions that we tend to ask a lot, I decided to do like a little like answer of my own and give my own take on it. So there's some, as far as majors, do I need to finish all prerequisites before taking the MCAT? That doesn't really go under majors, but I would say the only prerequisites that are kind of like okay for you not to finish before you're taking the MCAT is maybe sociology. For the sociology section, psychology is kind of important to take, but you could perhaps do it without the class. But the other classes, like, you need to take them before you take the MCAT. That's my gist. Will a double major help for medical school? Not if your GPA is not there. A double major could help if you want to stand out somehow, but otherwise it's just extra. It's not like, not going to do anything really for you besides make you stand out, if that makes sense. Do you have to be a major in science to get into medical school? No.
No.
I don't even think a lot of people consider psychology a science major, and that's what I am. I know people who are music, they go into business, things that are not science, get in medical school. You stand out too. The only thing I would say that you had a lower hand in, if you didn't major in a science major for medical school, is science majors tend to be exposed to a lot more, and a lot more content that they'll see in medical school, so they might have an upper hand once they are in medical school if you're a science major. What is the best major for medical school? Can't answer that. Literally, there is no best major for medical school. I don't know if other people have some type of misconception about biology, chemistry, biochemistry being better, but really, honestly, there is none. And you could, I know, like I said before, music majors who are in med school doing really well right now. So, should I drop pre-med if I am doing poor academically? That's a loaded question. It's different for everybody. I would say if you're like in the early years, freshman, sophomore, don't drop it. You have time to adjust and fix whatever is going on. However, I would say if you just feel like it's not for you, maybe after shadowing or working in the hospital a little bit with volunteering, try to get that under your belt and see if it's for you, and if it's not, then drop it. On the other hand, if you're a senior or a junior, or if you graduated from college and your GPA isn't great, if you're passionate about it, I'm never the person to say like don't go for it, because I know people who didn't do well all their undergrad and then got a master's or did a post-bac or DIY post-bac, and they rebuilt themselves on their GPA, and they were able to do that and get into medical school because the passion was there. So you don't need a job, you can work harder. If you're passionate about it, there's just areas where I would say it's easier to pick yourself back up, and those areas being freshman and sophomore year. Can you get in medical school if you failed a class? Yes, but I bet it's going to be harder for sure. And when you do get an interview, they're going to ask you, why did you fail this class? With that type of question, I would say just try to be transparent, take responsibility, and also talk about how you learned from that failed grade and how you're gonna move forward. That's the best you could really do for that, to show that you are a mature, responsible person and you don't kind of just blame the teacher. What GPA do you need for medical school? That is actually increasing as time goes on. People are playing the game better, getting smarter, I guess you could say. I think when I entered college, it was like 3.7 was the average for matriculants into medical school. Now I think it's 3.75, around there, so it jumped a whole half point. Or not whole half point, you know what I'm talking about. Whole half-fifth of a hundredth of a point, something like that. I'm not good at math, but it's rising. But that's not to say if you have a lower GPA, it's not okay, because I know people who get in with lower GPAs, because that's just the average. And average takes highs and lows, so make sure you keep that in mind. That I retake the MCAT. That's a loaded question, because it kind of depends on your situation with your extracurriculars, your GPA, and your MCAT, kind of all three of them together. If your extracurriculars and your GPA is strong, but your MCAT is okay, don't retake it. That's my best advice. If your MCAT is okay, and your GPA is okay, and extracurriculars are okay, make one of those great. Either buff the extracurriculars or retake the MCAT, make that great. Make something great. You have to have at least, like, I feel like out of those three, GPA, MCAT, and extracurriculars, at least you want at least two of those sections to be great, if not one. So that's my biggest advice. Why do medical schools have us take the MCAT? Ooh, see, that's like a whole nother video worth of content, because I honestly, not too fond of a lot of the ways, or a lot of the aspects of the MCAT. There's a lot of flaws in the MCAT to me, but it is shown to kind of correlate with people who do really well in medical school. Don't know if it's for the right reasons, but it does correlate. So I would say it's there because it's a good predictor of people who will do great in medical school. Not to say that you won't if your score wasn't great, but it is a good predictor. But I can make a whole another video talking about my experience and my thoughts on the MCAT. Like, not tips, but just my whole outlook on the MCAT as a whole. If you want that, comment below, because I will surely be happy to make a video on that. How many schools should I apply to? This is, so if you are a great applicant, you have great MCAT, great GPA, great extracurriculars, you don't need to apply to as many schools, because one, that's a waste of money, and two, usually you apply to a lot of schools when you aren't sure you're going to get into one, so you cast a wider net, so you up your chances of getting in. But if you know your chances are pretty high, you don't need to apply to that many, if that makes sense. How do I apply to medical school? It's different for everyone, different for every state. I know Texas has TMDS-AS. I want some cinnamon rolls, so I'm gonna make some cinnamon rolls right now. I messed up two of them. This eggnog my mom made. It's homemade. You wanna take a picture of my eggnog? This is my eggnog.
Got to get the fresh mint, muddle it, and then I made like a...
Yeah, fresh mint is good for your digestion.
No, you can't.
Is it numbers that you have the same one? Then yeah, you can. With numbers, you can double, but with colors,
Right? That's a... I never heard of that. Y'all can change that.
I remember that. Next,
Right down. See, and I ain't even doing anything. Okay, I didn't know that.
Fisher gift. What is that? Alright guys, this has been Christmas 2019. It is 10:30 and I'm going to pass out early. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next MedHead.